Wow. So I had no idea what a freaking outlet this thing would be. Like, I just started doing it, and because I've been feeling like a lot recently that I needed to just express myself more. I needed to be more authentic. Social media is annoying, all that stuff. And now that I've started this, I am addicted. Like, I actually moved a business call that I was planning to do in the car just so I would have this time to do these videos. So it's like a big deal. So I just kind of had like this sort of annoying interaction with my mom, and it brought up this subject that I think a lot of us face, which is parent-child relationships. And like, have you guys ever felt like you got grouped with parents who just totally were confronting to you in every way and had very different ideologies and belief systems? Because I do. And, you know, my parents are doing the best they can with the beliefs they have, and I've learned to accept them and embrace that in a lot of ways. But there's some ways that just, man, like, so confronting that it almost makes me want to cut contact sometimes. And I'm not going to, because you know, to me, I feel like the whole point of consciousness is to rise above these things and just bring the light to these things, because these patterns and these karmic wounds and these different challenges that we have in certain relationships, I think, are there for our growth ultimately. So yeah, you could cut contact, and if something's like really toxic, then yeah, you should probably. But I've noticed that for me, when it comes to, you know, my parents and my relationships with my parents, that like, there's definitely work for me to do on myself, because no one triggers me just quite like my mom. Like, she knows how to just get at the core of what will just drive me crazy. And I think at the end of the day, it's because when we're kids, we look to our parents for validation and for approval and just like our sense of security. And so if our parents' perspectives as adults don't align with ours, it can feel almost like we're being shaken to the root or our core, and that would actually somehow in our subconscious mind impact our sense of security of self and worthiness and just like value in the world. And so adding consciousness to it, you know, some of these like disagreements I've had with my mom lately have really helped me, first of all, clarify what I want and what I don't want in relationships, and also to be as a parent, because I am a mother of two, and it's really important to me, just based on some of the examples that my mom has created for me, to get clear that I do the exact opposite with my children. So obviously that's like the value of any contrast at all, is helping us get clarity on what we want and what we don't want, and what we're willing to tolerate, what we're not willing to tolerate in life. So that's the value of contrast, period. But also another blessing that I've received from this is really digging deep and becoming self-approved, and realizing that my value and my self-worth, like, that can't, am I going the totally wrong way? I think I'm literally driving in the complete opposite direction. I am. I'm like totally driving towards West Hollywood right now. That's hilarious. Okay, I need to turn around. That's how involved I am in this video. I'm like, why does it look like I'm going in the totally wrong direction? Oh, because I am. Anyway, so the other benefit of this situation with my mom is it's realized, like I was saying, that I need to be self-approved. And man, like, in the past, I would feel sorry for myself. And yeah, I admit, like, I did feel a little bit sorry for myself when we first had this disagreement. Oh, she doesn't love me, blah, blah, blah. Why'd I get the short end of the stick in the mom department? Da, da, da. But then when I look at the bigger picture of things and the spiritual perspective, well, I chose her. She chose me before we came into this lifetime, because there was going to be some kind of lesson that we could each learn from this relationship. So not sure why these cars aren't turning. But here we go. Bear with me. Yeah, so I guess I realized coming into this life that there was something that I would learn from this relationship, and that I'd be able to, and it's so interesting because I was born into a situation where both of my parents were basically like not able to provide the security that I need for whatever reason. And I'm also the mother of 2 children, one with special needs, who like is extremely dependent on me. So what's a lesson I'm going to learn real fucking quick with that setup? Self-reliance, you know, and just self-approvalness. That's not a word. But, you know, and then so interesting, the people I've attracted in relationships, like romantic relationships, have been mostly men who, dreamers, like genius, creatives, spiritual people, just like totally with their heads in the cloud and no groundedness on the ground. Like literally, it's so interesting who we attract, right? So I've attracted these men who are just like incredible people, some of the most brilliant people I've ever met, very, very intelligent, no short of intelligence, charm, wit, like all there is of charisma and sexiness, but yet just don't have their shit together, like just don't have their feet on the ground. So it's interesting. You look at this person, what is the lesson the universe is trying to teach? Okay, parents that are not loving, or like so not loving that it's like, it's almost comical. Like it's almost freaking comical if I got into the details of these arguments, okay? Child that's completely dependent on me, like basically needs full-time care. And then romantic lovers that also don't have their feet on the ground. So if there was ever a chance that I could lean on anyone or depend on anyone, like it basically, it's not to be found in any of my relationship dynamics. And I think that that's pretty profound to look at. Like what is the takeaway, right? So for me, like one of the biggest areas of growth that I've had recently is that, everything I want is going to come through my own internal validation system. And everything that I want is going to come from, you know, basically me being the supply of it. And that's empowering as hell. You know, sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's lonely, sometimes I go into that victim space. But I've noticed that the more that I've chosen this perspective, the less and less that actually is happening, right? So like, the less and less I feel tempted to feel negative emotion about it. And the more and more I see it as an opportunity and as a blessing to be really mentally tough and really strong. So, I just wanted to make this video because I had this recent discussion with this super unnurturing mother. And I was tempted to start going in that space of poor me. And then I realized, dude, consciousness, shed the light of consciousness to it. Like, this is a blessing. This is an opportunity. So for those of you watching, which I don't think any of you exist, but if there is anyone watching, because this is publicly posted in the World Wide Web, you know, if this message is reaching you for whatever reason, I hope that you can take whatever adversity you have going on, and through further examination, you can identify why it's actually the biggest blessing you've ever had. Because I do truly believe that our greatest adversities do lead to our biggest breakthroughs and our ultimate triumph. So let's be victorious.